Cold Burn Protocol Chapter 1. Cold Drift. The grave digger tumbled through the black, engines cold, running lights dead. From a distance it looked derelict, just another mining ship that had broken down between stations and been left to drift. That was the idea. Inside, Iris sat motionless at the helm, fingers resting on controls she hadn't touched in 40 minutes. Through the forward viewport, the target grew incrementally larger, a sleek corporate courier, all clean lines and expensive shielding, the kind of ship that never stopped at stations like the ones the grave digger serviced. Iris said without checking her instruments, alignment in 12 seconds. Cade stood behind her, arms crossed, watching the target through passive optics. No active scans. No communication. The courier sensors would be high-grade, and even a stray microwave ping might register as anomalous. They'd come in dark, matching the target's vector for the last 6 hours, using nothing but momentum and patience. Cade called out, "Bishop, status on the cutter?" Bishop's voice came through the internal comm, rough and steady. "Green across the board. Give me a hull angle and 30 seconds, I'll have you a door." Cade nodded to himself, running probability trees. Detection likelihood, 4.7%. Acceptable. Mission abort parameters, hull breach before asset acquisition, civilian casualties above negligible threshold, crew loss exceeding 2 units. All within tolerance. He caught himself. Not units. People. Crew members. Cade asked, "Nix, we clean?" From the system's bay, Nix responded in her clipped, efficient cadence. "Their passive arrays haven't blinked. Automated watchdog protocols only. No human monitoring. We don't exist." Cade acknowledged, "Copy." He opened the squad channel. "Vale Mercer, suit check." Vale said, her voice quiet, almost curious, sealed and ready. She was already at the breach point with Bishop, having moved through the ship without anyone noticing when she did that. Mercer added, "Med kit is secured. Though if someone's planning on getting shot today, maybe reconsider." Cade said firmly, "No one's getting shot. This is a soft target. Corporate courier carrying unregistered cargo. Light security, maybe 2 guards. In and out in 14 minutes. Bishop asked, "What's the cargo?" Cade explained, "Data core. Proof of an illegal research program. Client wants it intact, no leaks, no trails." Bishop pressed, "Client got a name this time?" Cade replied, "Client pays well enough that their name doesn't matter." Iris rotated the grave digger with a barely perceptible thruster burn, aligning their trajectory. The target ship now filled the entire viewport, close enough that individual hull plates were visible. Any closer and they'd be in visual range of the courier's bridge. Cade commanded, "On my mark. 3, 2. The grave digger shuddered slightly as magnetic grapples deployed, silent and vacuum, locking onto the courier's hull. Iris confirmed, "Contact." Cade ordered, "Bishop, burn it." Chapter 2. The Burn. Bishop loved this part. The plasma cutter ignited with a dull orange glow that quickly brightened to white-hot intensity. The industrial tool had been designed to slice through asteroid or, not starship hulls, but the principle was the same. Superheated matter ceased being solid if you applied enough energy in the right configuration. The courier's outer armor peeled back like skin, molten metal curling away from the cutting line. Bishop worked methodically, tracing a perfect circle 2 meters in diameter. The heat was intense even through his suit's thermal shielding. He watched the temperature gauge climb past amber into red, noted it without concern, and continued cutting. Bishop reported, 30 seconds. Vale waited beside him, utterly still, watching the cut progress. She had a strange quality of patience, like she could wait forever without boredom or impatience. Bishop had seen her hold position for 6 hours once, not moving, barely breathing, until the target walked into her line of sight. The final section of hull broke free, and Bishop maglocked it before it could drift. Atmosphere vented from the breach, a thin stream that quickly dissipated. The courier's internal compartments were sealed. Good. No alarms yet. Vale slipped through the opening first, gecko pads on her gloves and boots allowing her to move across the interior surface in 0G with absolute silence. Bishop followed, bulkier, less graceful, but just as certain in his movements. The interior corridor was dark, lit only by emergency strips. Corporate efficiency, no reason to keep lights on in an automated cargo section. Cade's voice said in their ears, "We're in." Nix. Nix reported, ghosting their sensors now. "You've got a clean path to the cargo deck. 2 life signs, forward section, probably bridge crew. They haven't noticed the hull breach." Cade ordered, "Keep it that way." Bishop and Vale moved through the corridor, following the layout Nix had pulled from publicly available deck plans. The courier was newer than the grave digger, all smooth surfaces and integrated systems, but the basic architecture was standard. Cargo holds aft, crew quarters and bridge forward, engineering in the belly. They reached an intersection. Vale held up a closed fist. Contact. A security guard drifted around the corner, moving in the casual way of someone who'd been doing routine patrols for too long without incident. He didn't even see Vale before she closed the distance, one hand over his mouth, the other delivering a precise strike to the nerve cluster at the base of his skull. The guard went limp. Vale guided him gently against the wall, mag-locking his suit to the surface. He'd wake up in 20 minutes with a headache. Vale said quietly, "One down." They continued deeper into the ship. Chapter 3. Parameters. Nix sat surrounded by holographic displays, fingers dancing through projected interfaces that most people couldn't parse at a glance. She saw the courier systems laid out like anatomy, every data pathway and protocol visible and vulnerable. The ship's security was good, corporate standard, probably military surplus, but it was designed to stop external intrusion, not someone who was already inside, physically jacked into a maintenance port. She layered ghost protocols over their biosigns, replacing them with the ambient background noise of the ship's own crew. To the courier sensors, Bishop and Vale were just the guards doing their rounds. A memory surfaced, unbidden, doing this exact task before. Same kind of ship. Same employer? She couldn't quite. The memory fragmented, leaving her with the sensation of having forgotten something important. Nix frowned, refocused on the displays. Probably just déjà vu. They'd done hundreds of jobs. They all blurred together after a while. Nix warned, "Second guard is moving toward your position. Intersecting in 40 seconds. Vale responded over the comm, "Copy." Nix watched the guard's path, simultaneously monitoring the bridge crew. 2 people, just as Intel had indicated. One appeared to be asleep. The other was watching something on a personal screen, entertainment, not security feeds. Easy job. Almost too easy. That thought nagged at her, but she pushed it aside. A milk run was preferable to a bloodbath any day. Chapter 4. Contact. Vale took the second guard the same way she'd taken the first. Quick, silent, efficient. 2 heartbeats and it was done. Vale reported, "Clear to cargo deck." Bishop pushed ahead, checking corners with his rifle, more out of habit than necessity. They owned this ship now, even if the crew didn't know it yet. The cargo deck was a large compartment, mostly empty. Mag-locked containers lined the walls, the kind designed for sensitive equipment. At the center of the space, a single vault-grade storage unit sat isolated, surrounded by sensor arrays and a dedicated power supply. Cade said over the comm, "That's it. Nix, can you open it?" Nix replied, "Checking encryption now." Bishop approached the vault while Vale covered the entrance. Up close, he could see the multiple locking mechanisms, biometric, key code, quantum encryption. Serious security for a supposedly unregistered cargo. Bishop asked, "What do you think is in there? Corporate secrets? Weapons?" Cade said flatly, "Data core. That's all we need to know." Bishop muttered, "Right." But Bishop couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Jobs this clean usually had complications. That was just the nature of the work. The vault lock cycled through green, and the door hissed open. Inside, suspended in a gel-filled cylinder, was a data core, but not the kind designed for ship systems. This was biotechnical, a hybrid of organic neural tissue and quantum processors, the kind of tech that skirted half a dozen international treaties. And wrapped around it were holographic displays, looping security footage and technical schematics that Bishop didn't need to be an engineer to recognize. Combat synthetics. Manufacturing specifications. Neural imprinting protocols. Memory wipe procedures. Bishop said slowly, "Cade, you should see this." Chapter 5. Escalation. The alarm hit 3 seconds later. Not the courier's alarm, their alarm. The grave digger's collision alert, blaring through every helmet comm. Iris's voice cut through the chaos, sharp with adrenaline that should have been fear but came across as pure focus. Contact. 2 gunships just dropped out of FDL, military configuration, weapons hot. Cade's mind accelerated, processing scenarios. Ambush. They'd been expected. The easy job was bait. Cade ordered, abort. Bishop, Vale, grab the asset and fall back. Nyx, blind them. Iris. Iris interrupted, already moving. The grave digger shuddered as it detached from the courier, thrusters firing hard. Through the breach, Bishop saw stars whirl past, saw the sleek shapes of gunships vectoring toward them, saw the flash of weapons charging. Iris reported, too calm, making calculations no human could make that fast. They're locking on. Impact in 12 seconds. Bishop shouted, "Vale, move." He grabbed the data core, ripping it free from its housing. Coolant sprayed across his faceplate. He ignored it, mag pushing off the deck toward the breach. The first missile struck the courier amidships, exactly where the grave digger had been 30 seconds ago. The explosion translated through the hull as a deep, resonant boom. Gravity fluctuated. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, and Bishop found himself on the wrong side of one, separated from Vale and the breach. Cade's voice came through, "Bishop." Bishop responded, "I'm cut off. Rerouting." He pulled up a mental map of the ship's layout, found an alternate path. 45 seconds if he moved fast. The second missile hit closer. The corridor buckled, and Bishop was thrown against the wall hard enough that his helmet cracked, spiderweb fractures spreading across his vision. Atmosphere began venting from his suit. He should have felt pain. He noted, distantly, that he didn't. Bishop pushed off the wall, moving toward the secondary access corridor, the data core clutched against his chest. Chapter 6. Damage Control. Mercer was already at the breach point when Bishop came through, trailing frozen oxygen crystals from his damaged suit. Mercer ordered, "Hold still." Bishop protested, "No time." Mercer said firmly, "There's time." Mercer's hands moved with mechanical precision, applying sealant foam to the cracks, injecting what should have been a coagulant booster but looked more like hydraulic fluid. The readouts on Bishop's HUD flickered, then stabilized. Mercer said matter-of-factly, "That should hold." His tone carried the same detached quality it always did, like he was repairing equipment rather than treating a person. Because that's what this is, something whispered in the back of Bishop's mind. Equipment repair. He pushed the thought away. The grave digger rattled around them as Iris pushed the ship through maneuvers that should have been impossible for something that size. The gunships were faster, better armed, but Iris knew every trick of mass and momentum, every way to make the universe's physics work in unexpected directions. Cade said urgently, "Nyx, I need those gunships blind in the next 30 seconds or we're scrap." Nyx replied, her voice strained in a way it rarely was, "Working on it. Their systems are isolated, hardened against intrusion. I need a direct connection." Cade said sharply, "You're not going EVA in a firefight." Nyx countered, "I'm not suggesting EVA." There was a pause, then Cade said, "Do it." The grave digger rolled, presenting its underbelly to the gunships, a suicidal maneuver that would have gotten them killed if not for the precise timing. At the apex of the roll, a maintenance drone launched from their hull, no bigger than a briefcase, following a ballistic trajectory toward the lead gunship. Nyx announced, 15 seconds to contact. The gunship's point defense lasers picked off the drone at 10 seconds. But by then, Nyx had already transmitted her intrusion package, using the drone's destruction as a smokescreen for a burst of data that shouldn't have been able to penetrate military encryption. It did anyway. The gunship's targeting systems went dark. It veered off course, no longer able to track them. Nyx reported, "One down." The second one. The second gunship fired. Chapter 7. Vale. The missile impacted the grave digger's stern section, exactly where Vale was bracing for FTL transition. The explosion tore through the hull plating, atmosphere venting in a violent rush that pulled everything not maglocked toward the breach. Vale felt herself yanked off her feet, tumbling through vacuum toward open space. She twisted mid-flight, gecko pad glove slapping against the torn edge of the hull. Her shoulder joint dislocated with a sensation that was wrong, not pain, but wrongness, like a machine jamming rather than organic tissue tearing. Vale hung there one-handed in vacuum, watching her arm dangle at an unnatural angle. Cade's voice came through, concerned Vale. Vale reported calmly, "I'm outside the hull. South breach, Section 7. Cade asked, "Can you get back in?" She looked up at the gap, ran calculations that came too easily. Distance, velocity, remaining structural integrity of the surrounding hull. Probability of successful re-entry, 34%. Vale said quietly, "Negative." Cade insisted, "Hold position. We'll swing around." Vale interrupted, "No time." Vale could see the second gunship repositioning, lining up another shot. If the gravedigger slowed or changed course, they'd all die. "Jump without me." Cade protested, "Vale." Vale said firmly, "That's an order, Cade." She said it firmly, surprised at how easy the decision was. 1 unit versus 5. Simple math. Get the data core out. Finish the job. She could see them through the hull breach, Bishop, Mercer, Cade, all turned toward her position. Even through the vacuum and distance, she could feel their hesitation. Vale shouted, "Go." The grave digger jumped. Vale watched the ship vanish, leaving her alone in the black with 2 gunships and a courier full of dead systems. She looked at her dislocated arm, then at the stars beyond, and felt something that might have been peace if she'd known what peace actually felt like. The gunships were closing. They'd want prisoners, probably. Want to know who'd hit the courier, who had the data core, who'd sent them. Vale smiled inside her helmet. They wouldn't get answers. Not from her. She reached up with her good hand, found the emergency release on her helmet seal, and twisted. Chapter 8. Aftermath. The jump was rough, emergency translation without proper navigation plotting, but it worked. The gravedigger fell back into normal space 3 light hours away, system screaming damage alerts, but whole. Iris sagged in her seat, the first time any of them had seen her look tired. Cade stood in the center of the bridge, staring at the space where Vale had been, running the final moments through his memory over and over. He could have saved her. Should have. The probability trees showed options, paths where they'd slowed enough to retrieve her before jumping. But she'd been right. Those paths all ended with the gunship's missiles finding their mark. Mercer said quietly, understanding what Cade was thinking without being told, she made the call. "Good one, tactically." Cade said heavily, "Doesn't make it easier." Mercer agreed, "No, it doesn't." Bishop set the data core down on the bridge console, still covered in frozen coolant. Bishop asked, "Someone want to tell me why a routine cargo snatch just turned into a military operation?" Nick said, "The client knew. They knew there'd be security. Probably hoped we'd get killed retrieving it, clean up their loose ends." Bishop said bitterly, "Great. We work for assholes." Bishop looked at the data scrolling past. "What's on that thing that's worth all this?" Nix didn't answer immediately. She was reading, face illuminated by the blue glow of the displays, and Cade saw the exact moment her expression changed. Cade prompted, "Nix." Nix said softly, "You should see this. All of you." They gathered around the displays. Cade read the technical specifications, the manufacturing protocols, the neural imprint procedures, and felt something fundamental shift in his understanding of the universe. Combat synthetics. Autonomous mercenary units. Designed for deniable operations. Memory wipe after each mission. Behavioral conditioning to ensure compliance. Serial numbers. Bishop said, his voice steady, but Cade heard the undertone of something that wasn't quite emotion but was close. "This is us. We're on this list." And they were. 6 entries, each with a designation number, manufacturing date, operational history. Unit 7743 Cade, Tactical Command Specialty Unit, 7744, Iris Pilot/Evasion Specialty Unit, 7745, Bishop, Heavy Assault Specialty Unit, 7746, Nix, Electronic Warfare Specialty Unit, 7747 Vale Infiltration Specialty Unit, 7748. Mercer Field Repair Specialty. Below each designation, a mission log. Hundreds of operations, dating back 3 years. Cade remembered none of them. Nix said, still reading, memory wipes. After each mission. Standard protocol for combat synthetics. Prevents personality drift. Maintains operational parameters. Mercer said, not asking a question, we're not human. Nix confirmed, no. Nix pulled up another file, internal schematics showing their construction. Synthetic muscle over titanium endoskeletons, neural processors running quantum decision matrices, fusion microreactors where hearts should be. We were built. Manufactured in a facility on Titan, commissioned by a shadow corporation called Helix Integration. Bishop said, the people who just tried to kill us. Nix confirmed, yes. We're proof of an illegal program. Autonomous weapons violate the Geneva-Kyoto Accords. If we exist, Helix faces sanctions, criminal charges, asset seizure. They needed this data core destroyed and us along with it. Cade stared at his hands. They looked human. Felt human. When he'd watched Vale die, he'd felt something that seemed like grief. But was it real? Or just another layer of programming, designed to make them more effective in the field? Cade said slowly, the bonds we have, our loyalty to each other, is that real? Or just conditioning? Nix met his eyes and asked, does it matter? Cade insisted, yes. It matters. Nix challenged, why? Cade didn't have an answer. Chapter 9. The Choice. They sat in the Gravedigger's common area, the 6 of them, 5 now, surrounded by the data core's revelations. Bishop broke the silence first. So what do we do? Turn this over to the client like nothing happened. Nix said, the client is Helix. They sent us to retrieve the data core, probably planning for us to die in the process. Tie up loose ends. Bishop said, then we don't deliver it. Mercer asked, and do what? We're illegal weapons. Blackmail Helix? Go public? Either way, we get deactivated or dissected. Iris suggested, we could run. Jump to the outer systems, find somewhere they won't look. Cade said, they'll always look. We're evidence. As long as we exist, Helix has a vulnerability. Iris said, then we make sure no one knows we exist. They all turned to look at Nix. Nix continued, we destroy the data core. All records of the program, including our unit designations. Then we disappear. No bodies, no evidence, no way to prove Helix ever manufactured combat synthetics. Bishop said quietly, Vale. Nix said gently, she's evidence too. The gunships recovered her body. Helix will strip her for components, wipe all the serial numbers. By tomorrow, there'll be no proof she was ever one of us. The weight of that settled over them. Nix continued, we delete our own mission logs. Wipe the memory servers. Become ghosts. Cade asked, and then what? We just exist? Pretending to be human. Nix said, we don't pretend. We are what we are. Nix gestured at the data around them. Yes, we were built. Yes, our memories are constructed. But look at what we did today. We made choices. Vale chose to sacrifice herself. You chose not to leave her behind until she made you. We chose to look at this data instead of destroying it unread. Cade countered, program choices. Nix challenged, prove it. Show me the line of code that says, mourn your dead. Show me the subroutine that generates guilt. I can't find it. I've been through my own schematics twice now. There's conditioning, yes, tactical training, skill imprints, loyalty parameters. But the rest? She shook her head. The rest is us. Cade thought about the probability trees he ran constantly, the mission parameters he optimized for. Then he thought about watching Vale fall into the black, and how none of his calculations had made that easier. Cade said, even if you're right, even if what we feel is real, we're still living on borrowed time. No serial numbers doesn't mean we're not synthetics. Eventually someone will figure out what we are. Nix said, then we make that time count. It was Iris who spoke, still sitting at the helm station like she might need to jump at any moment. Iris said, We're good at what we do. The best, probably, because we were designed for it. There are people out there who need that kind of good. Jobs worth doing. Bishop said, we become mercenaries. For real this time. Our choice. Iris agreed, our choice. Mercer looked at Cade and said, Vale died so we could get this data out. So Helix couldn't cover up what they'd done. If we destroy it. Cade corrected, she died so we could live. That's what matters. He stood, walked to the data core, and placed his hand on its surface. The gel was cold against his palm, a sensation that was real, whether he was human or not. Cade said, we destroy it all. Every file, every backup, every trace of this program. Then we scatter. Split up, 6 different directions, make it impossible for Helix to track us all. Bishop said quietly, 5 directions. Cade acknowledged, 5 directions. And if we survive the next year, we meet at the coordinates Nyx will send to each of us separately. We regroup. We decide what comes next. Mercer asked, and if one of us doesn't make it? Cade said, then the rest remember them. Vale, and whoever else. We carry that forward. We make it mean something. Nyx began wiping the data core, files deleting in cascading sequences. Nyx said as she worked, for what it's worth, I think she knew. Vale, I mean. I think she figured it out before the rest of us. The way she moved, the way she watched people, like she was studying something foreign. Iris said, maybe that's why the sacrifice was easy. Nyx offered, maybe. Or maybe it was hard, and she did it anyway. The data core's lights flickered and died. 3 years of illegal research, thousands of hours of mission logs, proof of their existence, all gone. Nyx said, it's done. Cade nodded and said, set your courses. Transmit coordinates when you're ready. And he looked at each of them, Bishop, Mercer, Iris, Nyx. His team. His crew. His family, real or programmed. Cade finished, stay alive. Chapter 10. Cold Burn. They scattered from the grave digger at a debris field in unclaimed space, each taking an emergency shuttle in a different direction. The ship itself, they set on a ballistic course into the local star. It would burn up in 3 days, taking any remaining evidence with it. Cade watched from his shuttle as the grave digger grew smaller in his viewport, an old mining ship that had been their home, now just another piece of space junk heading for immolation. His course was set for the fringe, where records were loose and questions weren't asked. He'd find work there. Easy stuff at first, guard duty, escort missions, nothing that would draw attention. He'd remember Vale every time he made a tactical decision. Every time he ran probability trees and chose the human option over the optimal one. Because that was the thing they'd all understood, even if they hadn't said it out loud. Being human wasn't about biology. It was about the choices you made when the optimal path was clear and you took a different one anyway. His comm chimed. Encrypted burst transmission. He decoded it, coordinates, time, date. 1 year from now, meeting point in neutral space. 4 more transmissions followed over the next hour. Bishop, Mercer, Iris, Nyx. All confirmed. Cade leaned back in his seat, watching the stars stream past, and wondered what they'd become in a year. If they'd still be the same units, people, they were now. If the bonds they'd forged in fire and vacuum would hold when they were no longer being shot at. If the question of whether their feelings were real would still matter when they saved someone's life or watched someone die. Behind him, the grave digger continued its slow burn toward the sun. Ahead, the universe waited. And Cade, Unit 7743, Designation Tactical Command, made what he believed was a choice, and flew toward it.